Hey, how's everyone doing? The video is actually on you, Joey, so you say hi first.
Oh, hi, everybody. Welcome to Accessing Oneness. I'm Joey Lott, and as always, I'm here with my good friend Chanan. And this is our our Facebook Live and our show in which we talk about consciousness. We talk about awakening. We talk about who you really are, and we invite you to explore that and discover that for yourself in your direct experience. That's what this is really always about. And
That's
if
right.
you, if this is your first time tuning in, then this is going to be an awesome experience for you. If you're returning, awesome. Also going to be an awesome experience for you because we're really just meeting here together in oneness. That's really what's happening here. And if you tune into that, you'll recognize that that's the truth and that that's always the truth. And it's actually possible to live from that every moment of your life. And that's the bigger invitation that we're inviting you to
That's right. And we also
today.
have a movement really
Yeah.
that we really are taking a stand for, both Joey and I, right? Joey and I have recently kind of come together in collaboration to share evolutionary human development, which is clarity through Joey's journey, my journey, and then other, artists, right? Really authors, people that have a real transmission to share to support this evolution of this movement of awakening,
Yeah.
right? And we want to help 3 million people. Oh, it's a 2 million, 2 million or 3 million awaken in the next 3 years. But really, it's beyond just the number of that, right? That's the set clarity for us to allow the movement of flow to move towards, which is what we're going to talk about today. Really, where's creation and manifestation and flow really come from? But this movement of awakening is something in us that just says enough is enough.
Yeah.
Enough is enough for my own suffering, right? Either you have just started your spiritual journey because you know there has to be a different way than everything you've tried so far, right? The material world isn't giving you true fulfillment. Your religion is giving you clarity, but maybe not the openness and the freedom from your own self-imposed slavery, it seems, right? In our own head. And what we like to show people is that it's actually possible to shift out of your head. Or you can look at it, it's actually possible to transcend living from a survival paradigm, right? It's took eons for ego to develop, for life to come, for life to become human, for the tadpole to become the frog, for the movement out of water into the air,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have to start to slow it down for a second and go, wait a minute, eons of time
Yes.
for this possibility of this DNA, right? Free from the mind's judgment and constraints and limitations and notions of who you think you are. You are.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that again.
Yeah.
Free from the mind's concepts, limitations, labels, identity is greater than you are. You are that which you can't think. What you think can never contain you.
That's right.
Therefore, any construct, paradigm that we're living in one day will break free for you and it will be revealed
Yeah.
what is true at the core. And it doesn't mean that paradigm or that movement of the survival of the mind that creates what? Through the prism of the mind, we have the ability to be here together.
Mm-hmm.
Through the evolution of consciousness, we have computers, we have connectivity like never before, right? And is it Teilhard de Chardin? I'm not sure who it is who talks about the newest sphere, that one day there'll be this connectivity. Well, guess what? That connectivity's here.
Mm-hmm.
And the deeper truth is we discovered that connectivity of oneness is always here. And that's really why the show is called Accessing Oneness and Living Inner Peace, because you can actually access oneness in your life. We can all, instead of living like it's all one or we're all in this together and believing it, we can be free from the belief system altogether.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to be able to start to learn to pay attention to positive thoughts and to manifest and grow. So I'm not saying no. I'm actually not saying no to anything. I'm inviting you to an inclusiveness that's a transcending of survival and including the animal, including the human, including beautiful you. And that's where someone today, one of our students said, it's like that's where self-love is just like this nectar, this bliss is radiating from herself. It's not her being blissed out, right? Trying to get us to a state of bliss and then maintain that, getting rid of all bad. It was actually in the meeting of unworthiness that the fruit of the nectar and the intensity of life that we've dammed down by the mind and ego, not to get rid of the ego, but to allow us to really move into freedom. So I want to get that out there because that's really what we're here for, to
Awesome.
support
Yeah.
that.
And that really goes right into our topic for today, which is creativity, and really looking at that in a fresh way, because the old way is all about, oh, I have to be creative, right? Oh, I'm not creative, or I am creative. And that's all from the mind. That's all the mind and separation, and the idea that I, as a separate thing, have to carve out my piece and get the acknowledgement from myself so that I can feel like I'm okay, get the validation that, yes, I'm creative, and that creativity is received and wanted and important and all that stuff. And that, we all can tell the truth about that. That's actually suffering, right? Because underneath that, fundamentally, we're assuming that we're separate. So we're suffering because we're always trying to get to okayness. And we think that creativity is the way we're going to get to okayness. But that's this
Right.
distortion of the truth of creativity. And we can start to see that creativity is that which has always been, which has created our entire lives, which is creating our lives right now. And it's really just a mistake that we believe that we were the ones doing the creation. And when we start to take a look honestly at our direct experience, we realize actually there's something quite different going on. And it's very freeing and liberating, because you can start to directly experience and discover that all of that effort that you thought you had to do to get to creativity and get to okayness, totally not necessary.
Totally. Like, so well and clearly said, you know? And so we take a look at this, like, let's take a look at creativity on a couple scales, right? And then we have to look at the distinction of creativity from the survival animal mind, which is kind of what Joey's talking about right now, and I'm going to say a little more on. And then what is it from the perspective of the enlightened mind, right? We actually invite people to start living awakening now, not to put your awakening off for another time. Everything that has occurred in your life has already made you ready. You don't have to be a 30-year veteran of a spiritual journey in order to resonate with reality, right? I mean, what do we need to do to resonate with reality other than to discover what's real? Right? So it takes you don't need a certain diploma, right? This is not exclusive, right? What we have to offer you and join the access points, that's an exclusive offer, because Joey and I are going to take 2 months to daily be there for you with full support, because we know that kind of nurturing, that kind of like birthing, right?
Yeah.
A birthing a child, right? That kind of support of the doula, right? Would you pay your doula, right? So people have issues sometimes with finances and money. We want you to understand that if you're thinking about joining us for Access Points is an upscale course, right? It's an exclusive offer right now, because it literally means we dedicate full time to the group, to you who's in that. We're available every day. And the reason I say this in the construct is so you have to be able to take a look at from an enlightened perspective, right? What creation is. Because Joey and I have to live on this edge of unknown and be vulnerable enough to share with you like this, or in any way, to find out what is the best way to reach out. Because we know we have something so important for you to hear. And that was that we can train you out of your mind. And first and foremost, is just to recognize a self-recognition that you are already it, that you're already whole, that there's one self actually here. And the individual that you are is included in that. And that's where, right, this intersection of infinity and being human, that's where the spark of the force of becoming, the Big Bang, waves and particles, your heart beating, breath occurring, right there on that edge. That's the springing forth of creation.
Yeah. And can we just, I think it's always important that we are clear about what we're talking about there. Because especially if this is somebody's first time tuning in, they might not know what we're talking about. So let's just take a moment and look at that together. Because when we're talking about, what we're talking about here is self-recognition. We're talking about what already is. It's the most intimate experience of yourself. And this is totally accessible to everybody. And that's really, really important. So right now, if you're listening to this, I would encourage you just to check it out and notice that you are right now. And what I'm talking about is not the mind's ideas of what you are. What I'm talking about is the simple recognition that you exist. And that's prior to any thought. That's prior to any arising of any sensation or experience or memory. or any conditioning whatsoever. It's instantaneous. It's absolutely mundane. And there's no possibility whatsoever that you could not know this or recognize this. It's just that what happens a split second later is that the mind comes in, and we're so habituated to giving attention to that and believing that that is the truth that we overlook the clarity and the peace and the wholeness that's already here as our true nature, our most intimate experience of ourselves always. So what we do through the access points process is we inquire moment to moment in our lives, not a special practice away from our lives, but it's moment to moment in our lives, no matter where we are, so that we can gain that clarity. It's a refinement, really.
A direct experience too, you know, a direct experience, so you know without a doubt. I'm going to throw that in there.
And so that's really important, because that is what we're proposing, is the actual source of true creativity and flow. And if we can anchor ourselves in that simply by shifting in our lives so that we gain that clarity about who we are, then we start to be able to rest in that and to move, or rather be moved from that, rather than always feeling that we're cut off and having to do something in order to get to that. And it's a very important thing to see, because it's radically different from everything else. Everything else is about, I have to do something to get something so that I can be something, right? That's always that way that we're approaching it. But in access points, and really with direct inquiry, the point is that we go direct to source, the most intimate experience of ourselves, and we anchor ourselves there by resting. Then we start to just notice what's already happening. So we're not becoming creative, we're tapping into the creativity that's already here. And rather than saying no to it, which is what the habit has been, unconsciously saying no, because we misunderstand it as fear, anger, all of these things that we think we have to get rid of or get away from.
Unworthiness is huge, and the shame.
Absolutely, yeah. And so we start to notice through direct inquiry, through the observation of our own direct experience, that that's what's going on. And we start to see that actually we have a choice, and that choice is to remain with what's always here. That's how we begin to flow in real creativity.
Totally. You know, that's so keen to start exploring that insight, okay? To really start unpacking that insight. So I said, from the enlightened perspective, right? So Joey just made clear from the suffering perspective, right? And then what's possible, we start to move on the other side of things, that as we free ourselves from being stuck in identity, stuck in separation paradigm, right? Separation, suffering, because you can be destroyed, because the ego mind is constantly, you got to get this, it's constantly in anxiety. The primordial angst, fear, anxiety that we all kind of feel resisted down there. We push away, pretend it's not there, but it shows up again. That is the ego on the edge of creation. And if it jumps in, it can't find itself. Can't find itself. It's so scared to go there, because it was what the energy that propelled it forward into life. You see, that energy that propelled it to do its job, to be an ego, to help create separation paradigm, right? So we discover, like Joey said, that creation's always been occurring, that the whole process of your life, and by the way, this is where victimhood comes to an end. The whole process of your life was supported by being, by consciousness, by intelligence, by God, spirit, whatever you call it, supported. Good or bad, what was occurring? Was the brain operating? Were cells communicating? Were you breathing? What allows all things to be as it is? And you can move into a belief system or a philosophy or a religion from what we're saying. So what we're saying isn't counter to whatever religion you are. I actually find myself closer to my Judaism than when I was raised with, because every aspect of our lives was there, like the baby in the bathwater. But we often, and unbeknownst to us, in our blindness and our lack of awareness, which was meant to be that way until it wasn't, we were throwing away the baby and the bathwater. And now you get to reintegrate the baby.
That's right.
So you
That's
find wholeness, you find integration, and in that alignment, that's creation. Because now you're at that edge without running as the survival animal, living awake. And from that clarity, that inclusivity of all things, raw and vulnerable, you meet what is here. If there's any blockage or resistance, it's allowed. So everything is supporting you as it always was, but now you're aware of that. And in that, there's release. As one of our students said to me today, wow, there's such release here. Feel sad that I pushed this away for so long, and there's such expansion, floating, and release here.
Yeah. I mean, that's the amazing thing, is that as we tap into and really access that clarity in our lives, we start to recognize how everything that we've run from, tried to push away, everything that we had these negative judgments about, everything that we were terrified of, actually is here in full support. It always has been here in full support. And in this moment right now of recognition, that's when that support is realized, and it comes alive with this massive flow of creativity that looks exactly like you in your life. And that's the miracle. That's the amazing thing. So it's the mind's judgments are always, the mind's judgments always say, no, not enough, not good enough, wrong, bad, not, you never measure up to your expectations.
Always in lack mentality.
But the discovery from this connection to your most intimate truth of who you are is that, wow, that's all in support, fully in support of this moment of total, absolute clarity and oneness. What could be more perfect than that? And that's the miracle of life that's happening always.
That's it. So what do we discover? We discover that actually what we think we are is not who we are. Being. We recognize that no one let us recognize that being, that we are, is the world that needs true exploration, right? So we hear about inner and outer, but inner is discovered to be reflection of outer, right? So we've all had enough of what we think the me has to do. I mean, we use a term like, I'm going to make it happen. Us against the world, baby, right? And that is this doing something, to have something, to be something. And it's in denial that being is already here. You see, when you flip it around, being is always first. And from nothing, from infinite potentiality comes into becoming. And that force of becoming is an awakening also. So you have a lot of people who will wake up and have an experience of being in inner peace and want to stay stuck on that fence.
Yeah.
Students of ours, we just push them right along, right into like a little creation or a little something. But it feels like you just want to right? Because the inertia of the process is unfolding, but you're awakening to accessing oneness right now. With us, it's in 8 weeks. It's possible now. And if that just happens for you right now, an opening, boom. But yet what we found repetitively over and over again is that people fall in and fall out, but they're really not falling in and falling out, right? Because the space of allowing is always here. You being is always here. The ground of creation is always here, supporting all that's occurring, even as the thoughts that are coming right now in your head are coming. We don't have to get rid of any of them.
Let's just talk for a moment for clarification, that falling in and falling out, because a lot of people experience that. I'm guessing, a lot of people who are listening right now experience that falling in and falling out. And it's really important to see what's actually happening here, because you believe that you're falling in and falling out. The reason you believe that is because states come and go, experiences come and go, and you're still mistaking yourself to be those states or experiences that come and go. So through the accessing in your daily life, you gain greater clarity. So you see what it is that does not come and go. And you recognize that is totally reliable, always here. So and
you need to become rooted in that, right, Joey? It's like it's one thing to recognize it and then have to do a practice to recognize it, right? So a lot of people can get skilled at like recognizing now, with the mind judging you if you're doing it right? Am I being in the now?
Yes.
Enough. there's a cartoon where the girl's looking in the mirror and she goes, tomorrow I'm going to be here now better. Anyone have one of those minds? Like, how much judgment upon your spiritual practice is there? Or about you being a better person is there? Right? About you being happier or not happier, successful, not successful, loss, win. So in what we're talking about, that's where true creation is discovered, already occurring, already happening. And we start to receive now. We start to receive creation, vision, clarity. So let's take a look at music in these two perspectives for a minute, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of music and a lot of art that comes from a place of pain, right? Heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
Because the intensity of that emotion pushes us to actually notice a little transcendent of that emotion, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that art pours out of. From pain into art, into inspiration. So wouldn't it make sense that that same intensity of emotion wants to pour out of us? But the difference is that often, like when I made my movie, I forget what year now, 2000 something, 19 something. When I made my film, 1996, when I made my film, right? We had 100 people collaborating. I didn't want to audition. I raised the money and I was the lead in this movie. Like all this creativity was going on. So the purity of that creativity is real. Right? If a song came from someone's darkness and they're depressed, which a lot of artists have depression, right? It's because there's a not knowing how to actually allow that art to pour out and still actually be able to meet that emotion and not run from it or run away from it. So when we open to being, everything that was told no gets a big yes. And as we meet that intensity with the labels of what we thought it was, just like you're not who you think you are, that emotion isn't what you think it is. That emotion is a dissonance, an energy, and aliveness. And we have to be able to see clear of all the mind's ideas of wanting to run from it, the survival animal. See clear into the resistance and indulgence of the body's discomfort to become comfortable with what's uncomfortable, where we discover the real gem of you moving into the force of creation, you consciously aware of your own conscious evolution. And as a whole, we come together in that, then it's not fire that burns everything down. It's fire that ignites the winds that blow through the fiber of our own cells, our own DNA, that resonates the frequency of true freedom, of true revelation.
Yeah.
In healing, there is revealing.
Yeah.
And in revelation, there's healing. We don't have to go figure the healing out. It's right here in our resolution, our commitment to God first for real, to being first for real.
Yeah.
So it's so important to Joey and I that if it's not with us, find someone who can really help you have results of taking a stand for your enlightenment, taking a stand for your awakening. Take a stand. If you're not even sure what enlightenment awakening is, don't worry. You don't need to know. But snapping out of a dream, you know that.
Yeah.
To live heaven on earth more and more day by day, not by trying to apply law of attraction to create, but by naturally seeing the dynamics of law of creation, of law of attraction, seeing the dynamics and no longer coming from the me that has to prove itself or be okay. Let's finalize the living from a survival animal.
Yeah.
Join me. Will you sign up? Will you shake my hand? Whether it's in this course or something else that Joey and I are going to offer, we're going to have free offerings and lower price offerings. We're going to come at you every way possible to support this because we're dedicated to this for real. But recognize that in you are all the seeds, all the coding. It was always there. The purpose of your life is you now. And when we align to that, we become more on purpose.
Yes.
We live purposeful. We live meaningful, not trying to discover our purpose in the separation mind that has to go find it somewhere else. We stop seeking, but the beginning is just awakening, right? The force of becoming has been going on. Being has been going on, supporting this, right? The form and formlessness together, everything and nothing at once, at the edge of life, vulnerable, open, and liberated. And that's what we want for everybody, as we all want that in our hearts. And we know we can train people to do that, right?
And let me just throw in here, because you said so much there that's really, really important and valuable. And the main thing I want to hit on right now is what you said about the the purpose of your life is you now. Really, that you start to see that our old ideas of creativity were all about how we had to change ourselves in order to be creative enough, in order to be successful enough, in order to be okay enough. But actually, when we start to really awaken and trust in the truth of who we are, then we start to notice that actually us, exactly as we are, is that creative expression. We don't have to go seeking for it or try to get it right. Us exactly as we are is it. You know, you there's no mistake that you are here exactly as you are. You are unique. You're not here to be somebody else. You're here to be you. And when you trust in that fully, instead of trying to be the you that you think you're supposed to be, but you really just allow the flow of yourself as you are, that's how you shine the light into the world.
Yes.
Nobody else can do that. That's really important to hear. Nobody else can do that. Only you can do that. And that's why you're needed. That's why your awakening is needed, because we need you to be you fully. We need you to shine the light of consciousness through you, through your uniqueness, because that's how the world is transformed. That's how heaven can be here on earth, when we awaken and discover that that's already the case.
That's right.
That's why we need you. And that's why we're serious about inviting you to join this movement of awakening. You know, this is a very serious thing, because we need that. You know, just open your eyes, you know, scroll through your Facebook newsfeed, turn on the news. You know, is that the world that you want? That world of fear and separation that's being promoted to you? No.
And Joey, do you want to spiritualize that world off as it's nothing and it doesn't matter? Is that authentic? Right. Is that really authentic to you at your deepest roots? Or is that just another separation paradigm idea that your mind has co-opted into another way for you to show up in the world? It's kind of a resignation. I'm asking you to stop being resonated in your spirituality.
That's right. Yeah, that's an awesome point. That's true. That's, you know, that's what that kind of you know, the like stuck in being becomes. You know, if you really tell the truth, maybe you're relatively awake and you've heard that invitation to call out the search, and then you recognize that there's being always here, and that's the most intimate experience of yourself. But if you tell the truth about it, you'll see that you're still playing a little bit of a game where you say, yeah, but there's something that's off limits, right? So if I say to you right now, well, what are you not willing to do? You know, if there's something that's prompting you to do, to move, to be moved, to act in the world, to express in the world, is there a way that you're saying no to that? Is there anything where you say, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with that? Because that is where there's still the residue of suffering, still the residue of identification as something separate. Because if you tell the truth, that, you know, non-duality is kind of a joke if we tell the truth, because the way it's promoted a lot of the time, because it's still being promoted as something separate, right? Like you can get into being. That's, if you really hear that, you start to see that's not quite it. We kind of have to take that step initially to recognize, to have that discernment, but then we have to be willing to take the real leap into true oneness, which does not exclude anything. And that's where we can really start to recognize that creativity of oneness.
Yes. So one more thing I'll throw out there is we're running long. This is a juicy topic. I mean, we could, you know, Joey and I will have books on this. We will have courses on this. We already do, actually. The Willingness to Welcome Everything, the Ultimate Self-Love course is a course that's coming, but right now we're only working with a beta group in that. People have actually gone through access points. They've already recognized that they can access oneness all the time. And they already started to move into a liberation of self-expression naturally. And we do that at the end of access points, by the way. We have a 4-hour workshop called The Greatest Expression of You. You get just Joey nodding again, so excuse us. But Joey's beautiful to look nodding, right? So what does that mean? I just want to take a look at that with you. What is this greatest expression of you? Okay, so we like to look at spiritual concepts here and see how there's truth in them, and then see how we've kind of distorted them, right? So I think a good one to put in here with this topic really is this idea of effortlessness, right? I forget the 7 spiritual laws. It's one of them, right? The law of effortless something, or anyways, effortless manifestation, effortless movement, right? And I think where where I can see on my own journey when I used to read like 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, and even like there's a simple abundance book Deepak Chopra had. It was like an A through Z, and it was like cutesy and small, and it claimed that it's going to help you manifest, right? But he's not kidding, actually. That's what it comes down to. He's not kidding, because you can see the clarity of Deepak's later books that he didn't just announce right away to people after his work, right, in meditation and so on, and all his vast work, that the clarity is that awakening, everything comes from being. Creation comes from being. Abundance comes from being. So moving into that vibration doesn't have to be something we work at. So for me, I see that I was still a massively identified person. So I was saying about the movie before, to swing back, that there was such creativity coming out of me, coming out of the group, coming out of the collaborators. So that was pure. I was also a 27-year-old driven, right? So that passion and that ego was driven. So it wasn't effortless. It was, it has to happen. And there's a fire to that. So that's not to be denied. That fire is powerful. But when it's co-opted by the mind's me power, because we're proving ourselves to feel okay, as opposed to, I want you to imagine what it is to actually discover that I'm really okay. Not just have to try to feel that, but to actually be able to release everything for a moment and notice that, oh, wait a minute, I'm really okay. I'm really connected already. When we start to live from that connection, creation moves through us. It already was. And now we become the collaborator. We show up, actually. We show up in the collaboration. That's why it takes all of us. That's why this is occurring. That's why if you're hearing us at this point, then there's no mistake in you're hearing this from us at this point, right? If you chose to devour this much content from us in this conversation, then you got to look at what is undeniable in you. And that what we find is, to finish the idea about effortlessness, and then what we find is actually that the support is what's necessary right now. You can't go this one alone. I couldn't. Joey couldn't. We couldn't go this one alone. And let's tell the truth. Are we going to go it alone into the transformation of the world? Or are we going to come together? Right now.
And by the way, you know, I heard somebody say something yesterday that was really intriguing, and I checked it out, and it's true. You know, the true enlightenment is the enlightenment of all, right? And that's really that bodhisattva vow is it comes from that recognition. You could look at the bodhisattva vow as like, oh, what is that? That's like some kind of victimization. No, it's the recognition of the truth that we're all in this together. And that's really, really important. So if we're going at this like, I'm going to get enlightened, you know, that's too effortful. But when we start to all check it out and look for ourselves, we recognize we've been supported and carried all the way by one self. Right. And so everybody has, really is the invitation for everybody to awaken, because it's time.
And showing up, right? It's like, and showing up, just to add in, just like to moving into like about the effortlessness. So the idea, the spiritual idea of effortlessness is kind of like you're removed almost, right? Or everything's just supposed to only happen in synchronicity and flow. And it does, it can, but not you in trying to get to that.
Right.
Or if something's not occurring as you think it should occur.
Yes. Right?
Then as if the process in the movement in the seed isn't bursting through the soil. So we show up to play our role. And that's what we're actually saying directly to you, is it's time to show up. So not in the concept of what effortlessness looks like, but to recognize what is effortless already.
Yeah.
And to recognize that challenge and dissonance and the pushing against, like gems going together, right? They take gems. I don't know if you know this, when gems are rough, they put them together and they get rubbed against each other enough where they become nice and smooth, right? So what you may see as erosion is creation. So we start to show up in that crux, in that intersection of infinite and everything. But first we have to discover we are everything for real, not as a temporary thing. So that just completes that little notion, I think, of that efforts and effortlessness. And we want to invite you to really consider taking a step closer to work with Joey and I and see what that's like. You see how we are expressive here. We're freely ourselves, right? I interrupt you a little too much, but you know, that's who I am. You see, if you notice about me something, if you're around me enough, what you'll notice about me, right, is that I'm comfortable being myself fully. And that line, Joey, what you said it's so great when you said, like, is about allowing you to be you.
Mm-hmm.
Every neuron, every thought, every emotion, not indulging in you where you become the ego and destructive in the world and the poison in the world, but actually to come back to your DNA, not the special me trying to prove itself, but to your DNA and to the self-expression, the wellspring of being, that source code of your own self that you're connected to. So we want you to know this is authentically ourselves, right? And actually start sharing a little more of my family life with you, just to share with you why people first approached me after I first taught years ago when Gangaji sent me out, and why I started sharing again is because people sought me out to ask me how I was living an awake life. And I was so blessed to wake up from this invitation to call up the search. But something in me knew I had to step away from that to explore what it is to be in life, awake. And I had a daughter, and I got divorced, and I went through all the challenges and the heartbreaks and the finances, all the movement of that, always knowing that I am the ground of okayness and totality. So obviously I want nothing more than you to know that for yourself directly. So what you can do is you can go to brianmark.com/private. There'll be a link below. And you can actually take a assessment right there on that page for you. Simple 10 questions, really important. Just a moment of self-reflection. We're not assessing you. I think some people could take that wrong in that term. We're not assessing you. We're assessing together your conscious evolution journey. I'd like to put that on there, assessing together. It's a collaboration.
Yeah.
That's really, I think that's key. I want to make sure we get that on there, huh, Joey? It's like, this is a collaboration,
It really is. That's the beauty of it. I mean, when people fill out that assessment, it's so valuable. It really begins the process of collaborative inquiry right then and there. Because when you take that assessment, you start to discover for yourself what your blind spots have been, where you've been stuck, what you've been believing. And the inquiry actually starts right then and there. Then when we meet face to face, I mean, Chanan and I both read those, all of the assessments, and we take them very seriously because it's our job to meet with you and to really show up, right? I mean, we're both coming together to show up so that we can shine a light and gain clarity together with you so that you can see where you've been stuck, what you've been believing that's holding you back, and you can have a clear path to discover in your life what is true, not in a thought, not a new belief, but to know with a certainty that's beyond the mind who you are. And that's that, I mean, that if you recognize the value of that, if you're excited about that, which you should be, I mean, I got to be honest with you, you should be, because anybody who's serious about the truth, anybody who's serious about peace, anybody who's serious about freedom, you have to recognize that whatever you've been trying on your own to achieve something, that hasn't been working out. So that obviously has been operating from a false paradigm. And when we inquire together, you get to have clarity on that. And it's a really powerful opportunity, because that clarity, I mean, when I meet with somebody who is ready, I can help facilitate real transformation in that call. And that's such a powerful experience, and receiving that support, because it's not just support from me or Chanan, it's support from life that's coming through this appearance.
Amen, dude. That was so well said. I got to say amen to that, because it was so well said, Joey. Honestly, you know, if we step aside from a lot of things that may be a challenge in your life, any challenge you have, if you're still here hearing us, because that's someone's been with us for a while now to be with us here, right? Yeah. And either of us, our hearts are on fire for this, for the world. Yeah. Okay. So like Joey's saying, you got to be ready. Like there's two kind of criteria, as we say, for this course. Okay. Upscale course, it's an exclusive offer because it's exclusively for people who are ready. It's got to be that. You got to be on fire. And if you're not ready now, then maybe you'll be ready later, and we'll be here to support you. And we're going to, I'll break down in a moment some other things we're about to be able to offer to people at different scale. Okay. But right now, this is an exclusive offer. So this part 2 is that, yes, takes a financial investment. This is priced, You know, we could have done the cheaper course and work with thousands of people, but there's no way Joey and I can meet with thousands of people every day. And we're literally available every day via WhatsApp. We get back to people immediately by video, audio, text.
And for clarification, this is for the 8-week training. So this 8-week training, as Chanan is saying, is an exclusive offer. Obviously, it's exclusive because we can only work with so many people to provide that level of support over 8 weeks and to guarantee results for you. You know, this is not just some other retreat that you go on and you get some temporary Band-Aid experience. This is about you discovering in your life the truth of who you are over and over and over, so that by the end of 8 weeks, you have absolute clarity that at any moment of your life, you can access oneness, you can access peace, and you can begin to live from that. So you can begin to live that creative flow and that abundance and that trust in the truth of who you are. So that's the 8-week training. And that's what we're inviting you to explore with us in the complimentary session with one of us.
Yes.
So we're offering this complimentary session to anybody who fills out the assessment and would like to sit with us, one of us, to inquire together, to gain this clarity about where you've been, what you've done, what's working, what's not working, where you're stuck, and how you can move forward on a path that will successfully allow you to live from the clarity of being every moment of your life.
Yeah.
That is for anybody who is ready and who is ready to invest in that process. So
yeah, and we'll see if something clicks. You know, it's like it's not an assessment of you. It's a movement of assessment together.
That's
right. And in that, we'll know the resonance of how we can work together. If we're the right mentors for you, right, and if you're the right student, even for this course right now, because we have to be able to give personal attention to everybody in this course. We're going to be there for everybody for 2 months. So, you know, we're making that clear, and that's important to us. So, you know, again, the website is brianmark.com/private. You can see that below. We hope you check us out and sign up for this. It's a real great opportunity. We don't always open our slate like this. We're doing this to have the right energy, because we know the people who are going to come into this course now are already the right people coming in. And if you've been around us for some time, you'll see that we're out there trying all different mediums in order to say hi, right? We're going to actually have a podcast coming to you soon, but we also have other teachers and other people that we'll be supporting into the world. So first of all, if this resonates with you, just this message, just this video about creation, each episode, we're going to take another look at another spiritual paradigm that's kind of misinterpreted and misunderstood, and really looking at the clarity of living from being and living an awake life, right? To be able to access oneness truthfully in your life and to live from there. Okay, so this was a longer episode, but it was a great conversation. I enjoyed it, Joey. Did you enjoy it? So you guys did enjoy this, then, you know, if you're on Facebook, like, YouTube, subscribe, like, and share, right? We see there's a movement of awakening sweeping this planet. And it takes each of us taking responsibility for our own awakening. And then from that, like Joey was saying, the more you be you, the more I can be me. You being you is a license for all to be. Let it be. So you're really just you walking around shedding that DNA, you know, that Joey DNA, that Chanan DNA, that Ruth DNA, that John DNA, whoever your name is and whatever you are. It's not your name. It's not who you are. You're that angel. You're that human. You're that soul awakening, shaking that DNA. So I also want to reach out to people who are very into spirituality, okay? And you may be a healer. You may have teachings of your own. We have a lot of people who are authors and teachers in their own right go through this process, because this process works. So it's not like you need us. We just have come upon a process that when it works in the way it does, it continues to work for people, and they expand into being who they are. So that's the religion you are, the husband you are, the parent you are, the teacher that you are. And greater clarity and alignment happens in that space for creation and manifestation. So yes, this brings that clarity to you. So, because I want to say that whatever in you already knows what you know, right? There's always the possibility of training into like up leveling, right? And this process will really offer a stabilization in living and awakening for you, right? Because I'd love to see a lot of you there that are really out there, heart sharing out there. And let's just take one last thing about creation and money. You want to take this for Joey for a second?
No, because I have no idea what you're going to say.
We kind of did from a conversation, but now where I was going. So creation and money, and that is in spirituality. Everything that is occurring in your life is spiritual.
Yeah.
Everything that's occurring in your life is creation. Everything that you offer into the world as value is an inspiration.
Yeah.
And a creation.
Yeah.
Finding the cleanest offering of yourself, discovered as your own purpose that's here.
Yeah.
That's valuable, and it has an exchange of value that we call now money, and perhaps we'll go beyond money soon. There's speculation on that. That's not my job to speculate about that. But I want you to know that your value in whatever career you have, whether you're an accountant, your life is creative. Your job is creative. The use of the truest you, you're the greatest expression of you in life, in the life you're already in.
That's right.
Is you sprinkling your DNA. So keep being you, because the more you be you, the more we can be us.
Beautiful.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Lots of love. See you soon.